Isaiah chapter 24, Judgments upon the world's sinners. Behold, the Lord shall lay waste the earth, and shall strip it, and shall afflict the face thereof, and scatter abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the handmaid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with him that calleth for his money, so with him that oweth. With desolation shall the earth be laid waste, and it shall be utterly spoiled, for the Lord hath spoken this word. The earth mourned, and faded away, and is weakened. The world faded away, the height of the people of the earth is weakened, and the earth is infected by the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. They have changed the ordinance, they have broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore shall a curse devour the earth, and the inhabitants thereof shall sin. And therefore they that dwell therein shall be mad, and few men shall be left. The vintage hath mourned, the vine hath languished away, all the merry-hearted have sighed. The mirth of timbrels hath ceased, the noise of them that rejoice is ended, the melody of the harp is silent. They shall not drink wine with a song, the drink shall be bitter to them that drink it. The city of vanity is broken down, every house is shut up, no man cometh in. There shall be crying for wine in the streets, all mirth is forsaken, the joy of the earth is gone away. Desolation is left in the city, and calamity shall oppress the gates. For it shall be thus in the midst of the earth, in the midst of the people, as if a few olives that remain should be shaken out of the tree, or grapes when the vintage is ended. These shall lift up their voice, and shall give praise when the Lord shall be glorified. They shall make a joyful noise from the sea. Therefore glorify the Lord in instruction, in the name of the Lord God of Israel, in the islands of the sea. From the ends of the earth we have heard praises, the glory of the just one. And I said my secret to myself, woe is me. The provocators have provocated, and with the provocation of transgressors they have provocated. Fear and the pit and the snare are upon thee, O thou inhabitant of the earth. And it shall come to pass that he that shall flee from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that shall rid himself out of the pit shall be taken in the snare. For the floodgates from the high are open, and the foundations of the earth will be shaken. With breaking shall the earth be broken, with crushing shall the earth be crushed, with trembling shall the earth be moved, with shaking shall the earth be shaken as a drunken man, and shall be removed as the tent of one night, and the iniquity thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. And it shall come to pass that in that day the Lord shall visit upon the hosts of heaven on high, and upon the kings of the earth on the earth. And they shall be gathered together as in the gathering of one bundle into the pit, and they shall be shut up there in prison. And after many days they shall be visited, and the moon shall blush, and the sun shall be ashamed, when the Lord of hosts shall reign in the Mount Sion and in Jerusalem, and shall be glorified in the sight of his ancients. Matthew chapter 24. And Jesus left the temple and was going away when his disciples came forward to show him the buildings of the temple. But he answered and said to them, Do you see all things? Amen, I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. And as he was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when are these things going to happen? And what will be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And in answer, Jesus said to them, Take care that no one lead you astray. For many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. For you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Take care that you do not be alarmed, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be pestilence and famines and earthquakes in various places. But all these things are the beginnings of sorrows. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation, and will put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. And then many will fall away and will betray one another and will hate one another. And many false prophets will rise and will lead many astray. And because iniquity will abound, the charity of the many will grow cold. But whoever perseveres to the end, he shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in the whole world for a witness to all nations, and then will come the end. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let him who reads understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let him who is on the housetop not go down to take anything from his house, and let him who is in the field not turn back to take his cloak. But woe to those who are with child or have infants at the breast in those days. But pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great tribulation, such as not been from the beginning of the world until now, nor will be. And unless those days had been shortened, no living creature would be saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened.
Now I want to share with you some scripture. Isaiah chapter 2, verse 19. And they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. Revelation chapter 8, verse 5 and 6. And the angel took the censer and filled it with fire of the altar and cast it into the earth. And there were voices and thunderings and lightnings and an earthquake. And the 7 angels which had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Revelation 16, verse 17 through 21. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air, and there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, It is done. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. And the great city was divided into 3 parts, and the cities of the nations fell, and the great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. And every island fled away, and the mountains were not found. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. 2 Baruch chapter 25. And he answered and said to me, You too will be preserved until that time, until that sign which the Most High will work for the inhabitants of the earth in the end of days. This will therefore be the sign when stupor will seize the inhabitants of the earth, and they will fall into many tribulations, and again when they will fall into great torments. And it will come to pass when they say in their thoughts, by reason in their much tribulation, the mighty one no longer remembers the earth. Yes, it will come to pass when they abandon hope, and the time will then awake. 2 Baruch chapter 26, verse 1. And I answered and said, Will that tribulation which is to come continue for a long time? And will that necessarily compromise many years? 2 Baruch chapter 28, verse 7. Is it in one place or in one part of the earth that those things have come to pass, or will the whole earth experience them? 2 Baruch chapter 29, verse 1 through 4. And he answered and said to me, Whatever will then befall will befall the whole earth. Therefore, all who live will experience them. For at that time I will only protect those who are found in those same days in this land. And it will come to pass, when all is accomplished that was to come to pass in those parts, that the Messiah will then begin to be revealed, and Behemoth will be revealed from his place, and Leviathan will ascend from the sea, those two great monsters which I created on the fifth day of creation, and will have kept until that time, and they will be for food for all who are left. 2 Baruch chapter 32, verse 1. But as for you, if you prepare your hearts so as to sow in them the fruits of the law, it will protect you in that time in which the Mighty One is to shake the whole creation. 2 Baruch chapter 70, verse 8 through 10. And it will come to pass that whoever gets safe out of the war will die in the earthquake, and whoever gets safe out of the earthquake will be burned by the fire, and whoever gets safe out of the fire will be destroyed by famine. And it will come to pass that whoever of the victors and of the vanquished gets safe out, and of the escapes of all these things previously mentioned, will be delivered into the hands of my servant the Messiah, for all the earth will devour its inhabitants. Revelation chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, What are these which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, These are they which came out of the great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. The Earth's inner core has stopped turning and gone into reverse. The cause of this is a disruption within the Earth's electric and magnetic fields. Now, there are two books that cover the consequences of this taking place: The Adam and Eve Story by Chan Thomas, and Coming World Changes by Harriet Augusta Curtis. The scientific name for this cataclysm is called liquefaction. What is on the surface will sink below, and what is below the surface will rise to the top. In the Pacific, Lemuria, the lost continent, will rise, and in the Atlantic, Atlantis, the lost continent, will arise. And out of Lemuria will come the alien, disclosure, and out of Atlantis will come the Antichrist. Now, before we cover these two books, we first must cover HARP and CERN, because they both are disrupting the Earth's electric and magnetic fields. Global warming is a man-made disaster.
There's a very strong magnetic field down there. It's pressure and gravity and the magnetic field that all have to balance.
We can't drill straight down to the Earth's center. It's around 3,000 kilometers through the mantle just to the outer core. But scientists at Peking University in China found that seismic waves from earthquakes showed the Earth's core rotating, but also slowing down, and that it stopped just over 10 years ago and appears to be picking up speed, rotating now in the other direction. So what could that mean for the magnetic forces in and around the Earth?
Let's first look at the HARP machine and its purpose. It stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, or HARP. HAARP is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere. How does HARP work? Scientists at HARP use HF radio transmitters to heat regions of the ionosphere and observe the effects, including ionospheric heating. What happens in the ionosphere? The upper atmosphere is ionized by solar radiation. That means the sun's energy is so strong at this level that it breaks apart molecules. So there ends up being electrons floating around and molecules which have lost or gained electrons. When the sun is active, more and more ionization happens. The ionosphere is the part of the atmosphere that is ionized. It plays an important part in atmospheric electricity and forms the inner edge of the magnetosphere. It has practical importance because, among other functions, it influences radio propagation to distant places on the Earth. So by heating up the ionosphere using the HARP machine, they are breaking up molecules at an accelerated rate. Molecules broken apart become particles. This is where the HARP machine works in cooperation with the CERN machine. The ionosphere is naturally heated by solar radiation, which is light and heat from the sun onto the earth all the way down to its surface. The molecules of that natural solar radiation break apart on the ionosphere, creating particles. The HARP machine also heats up the ionosphere using HF radio transmitters, which also breaks molecules on the ionosphere back down into particles. The CERN machine is a particle detector and particle accelerator. Particle accelerators use electric fields to speed up and increase the energy of a beam of particles, which are steered and focused by magnetic fields. By accelerating these particles at the speed of light, CERN is altering the Earth's magnetic field. The CERN machine is 100,000 times stronger than the Earth's magnetic field. So by the ionosphere being naturally heated by the sun's radiation, as well as artificially heated by the HARP's HF radio transmitters, so by HARP and CERN altering the electrical and magnetic fields of the Earth, we get a blueprint for the next global cataclysm. The Adam and Eve story written by Chan Thomas gives great detail of the consequences of altering the magnetic and electrical fields of the earth in the first 2 pages of the very first chapter. And they read, with a rumble so low as to be inaudible, growing, throbbing, then fuming into a thundering roar, the earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in recorded history. In California, the mountains shake like ferns in a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back and piles up into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward. With the force of 1,000 armies, the wind attacks, ripping, shredding everything in its supersonic bombardment. The unbelievable mountain of Pacific seawater follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were nothing but grains of sand. Nothing but nothing stops the relentless, overwhelming onslaught of wind and ocean. Across the continent, the 1,000-mile-per-hour wind wreaks its unholy vengeance everywhere, mercilessly, unceasingly. Every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside, and the earthquake leaves no place untouched. In many places, the earth's molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white, hot liquid fire to add to the Holocaust. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water, coast to coast. In a fraction of a day, all vestiges of civilization are gone, and the great cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York, are nothing but legends. Barely a stone is left where millions walked just a few hours before. A few lucky ones who managed to find shelter from the screaming wind on the lee side of Pikes Peak watched the sea of molten fire break through the quaking valleys below. The raging waters follow, piling higher and higher, steaming over the molten earth fire and rising almost to their feet.
Always be watchful. Now let's get into chapter 4, coming world changes. Chapter 4, the King of the world. And though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner any more. But thine eye shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, This is the way, walk ye in it. Isaiah chapter 30, 20 through 31. Press on, my warriors. Fear not the fray. We are the conquerors. Our voice obey. Sound loud the trumpet, blast, happy and free. Tell of the day star that is destined to be. Harriet, Augusta Curtis, in Realms of the Living Dead, page 176. Beginning with chapter 4. In his remarkable book, Beasts, Men, and Gods, published in 1922, Dr. Ferdinand Ozendowski, formerly professor of chemistry and economical geography in the Polytechnic Institute of Petrograd, and later professor of chemistry at the Polish University at Warsaw,
reports a prophecy given as far back as 1890 to the Hutuktu abbot of the Narabanchi monastery in Mongolia by the great unknown, who throughout Asia is called the King of the World. This prophecy described the conditions that were coming to humanity during the following 50 years, much of which was literally fulfilled during World War I, as follows. More and more people will forget their souls and care about their bodies. The greatest sin and corruption will reign on earth. The crowns of kings great and small will fall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There will be a terrible battle among all peoples, the world wars. The seas will become red. The earth and the bottom of the sea will be strewn with bones. Kingdoms will be scattered. Whole peoples will die. Hunger, disease, crimes unknown to law, never before seen in the world. The ancient roads will be covered with crowds, wandering from one place to the other. All the earth will be emptied. God will turn away from it, and over it there will be only night and death. Then I shall send a people, now unknown, which shall tear out the weeds of madness and vice with a strong hand, and I will lead those still remain faithful to the spirit of man in the fight against evil. They will found a new life on the earth, purified by the death of nations. The King of the world will appear before all people when the time shall arrive, for him to lead all the good people of the world against the bad. But this time has not yet come. The most evil among mankind have not yet been born. In an article in the Century magazine for December 1923, Professor Ozendowski states that among various Asiatic people there exists a watchword proclaiming the superiority of the spiritual strength of the East and affirming the necessity of forcing all humanity to accept its will and its world outlook, even at the cost of general blood spilling, even by hurling Asiatic multitudes upon the nations rotting in the bog of European civilization. Accordingly, at the fires of the nomad shepherds of the prairies and the Sinim marshes in northern Tibet, in the Himalayas, on the banks of the Hind and the Ganges, in Asia Minor, in Iran, in the valleys of the Yangtze and the Huangpo, people of different colors, tribes, races, and creeds, but united by the common bond of Asiatic ideology, talk, discuss, sing, and dream about the approaching hour when the hand of the Asiatic will be the hand of karma and will execute the decrees of fate to an attack against the white race, an attack which is the dream of some Asiatic circles. At all events, it is more than probable that the white race will be obliged to reckon with the influence of the now only legendary King of the world. The latter part of the above prophecy seems to corroborate the prophecy of Mr. Cromer regarding an Asiatic invasion as given on page 23. During her remarkable visit to Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, Alexandria David Neal relates that hatred of Europeans is sown in many remote corners of Asia. Many partisans stand ready to support the expected warrior Messiah, who according to the prophets will arise before long in the northern land, unite all Asia under his victorious sword, and cast out the impure, demonical Westerners. Already the Japanese have called a Pan-Asiatic Union Conference to meet at Nagasaki on August 1st, 1926, designed to bind the nations of the Orient in the same sort of fashion as the Pan-American Union links the nations of the Western Hemisphere. There is unfortunately an ominous ring in the title of the Pan-Asiatic Society. There is considerable justification for the apprehensions, but not as yet for the accompanying fears. The unity and peace of Asia are the objectives of the leaders who hope, sooner or later to bring about a serious Asia for the Asiatics situation. In our lesson for December 1922, we gave out a prophecy given to the order of Christian mystics by the same mysterious king of the world, which reads as follows. I see a great and devastating flame sweeping the world from east to west. A flame of fire, a flame of sword and famine and murder and bitterness and death. I see the people of the earth, each one with its hand lifted against its brother, each country seeking for its own, men dying and cursing God with every dying breath, and sowing the seed of new and more frightful flames. I see descending from on a high the mighty angel with the flaming sword, for only fire can purify hate. I see this flame of purification sweeping the earth from east to west, from the rising of the sun to the going down of the sun. 5 countries are left. The rest sink beneath the seas. 5 countries, 5 lands like fingers on a man's hand. 4 shall be great and 1 small. But out of the smallest there grows the greatest light. Then comes redemption. Then comes that which alone can make this world to be reborn once more human, like a babe laid in a manger, cradled in its mother's arms. I see a great mountain lifted up in the midst of the countries which are left, and from its top there radiates the light of the spiritual sun, and I see the remnants of mankind bathed in its radiance. Think not that any country in this broad world can escape. The flame sweeps onward and over. Only those who have the flame of the living Christ in their hearts shall survive. I speak, for this is my world. Into my hands it has been given. I stretch out my hand, and each finger represents a point of force, a place where the great living power of the sun has breathed into it the life fire which is immortal. Where are my children? They are dying. They are being murdered and starved. They are being scattered like sheep on the cold, bare mountaintops, homeless and friendless. For a time, I bow to the inevitable. I wait. I wait that a greater than I may read you the riddle of this dark star. It was at first thought that the king of the world was the planetary ruler of the earth, but later instruction from the king himself explained that he was a great Atlantean master who had passed through the process of physical regeneration and so was able to retain and renew his physical body indefinitely. During the ensuing ages, he had developed greater and greater powers and had been entrusted with greater and greater tasks until he became the chief representative on earth of the celestial ruler of our globe. Since the publication of this prophecy in December 1922, we have many inquiries for further details as to this prophecy, but few further details can be given. Remember that the prophecy did not come from the teacher of the order of Christian mystics, nor from the coming avatar, but from the representative of the planetary ruler of this globe, the earth, and those few who heard it were too greatly awed to ask details during that brief visit. The only detail that we can give is that the country represented by the little finger was not Japan, as some suppose, but probably some part of the western North America. The special region cannot be indicated until after the rising of Lemuria and the settling and readjustment of the continent. To us, the prophecy indicated that which will come to pass if humanity persists in its present course and continues to send out destructive vibrations of inharmony, antagonism, hatred, selflessness, and greed, instead of the constructive vibrations of brotherhood and cooperation. That the latter are the most vital needs of the world today is corroborated by United States senators, officials, and prominent businessmen after returning from Europe who practically agree with Senator McCormick of Illinois, who is quoted as saying that, more important to the rehabilitation of Europe than any conference, than any agreement between statesmen and financiers can be is the exorcism of the spirit of hate and greed, which animates governments and peoples. Unless the peoples are moved by a Christian will to peace and by a Christian comity, there can be no real peace in Europe. While the earth children are scattered through all the countries, they are most concentrated in the Far East. They are concentrated in Asia because they are less mingled with children of other planets and hence are able to correlate more readily with the consciousness of the earth and come more fully under the guidance of their king, where in certain sacred monasteries he has appeared and given personal instruction. In view of the above, we can now understand the destructive aspect of the flame of purification which will spread from the east to the west and will ultimately sweep all nations, each suffering according to the amount of inharmony, unbrotherliness, antagonism, and evil there is to be consumed. We can correlate with the flame and make the fire our servant only as we strive to become one with the divine fire of the living Christ and willingly allow it to burn from us all inharmony and impurity, all that holds back the manifestation of our real or divine self. Once we have grasped the idea that the flame consumes only that which is evil or which must be transmuted to make room for the divine life and joy of those who fearlessly face self and bravely strive to conquer all that is not in harmony with the law, then like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, even though we seem bound hand and foot and thrown into the fiery furnace, the flames of purgation now sweeping the earth, when the morning of the new day dawns, we will be found walking free in the midst of the flame because the Lord Christ walks with us.